Does it twice.
I don't even know.
think people were scared, but I was like, why did they read? No idea. Yeah.
I didn't even notice it.
You that are right.
That's fine.
You're gonna tell me really quick what you're gonna, like, to the camera, just explain what you're gonna
Oh,
shoot today, one sentence.
sure.
Okay, all right, so what are you gonna show these kids today?
So we're at the Culinary Education Center. We're gonna cook things
Sit down.
with a satellite.
And restaurant management at the Institute
And
of
talk a little
Culinary
about-
Education. Welcome to this installment of our guest lecture series. As a reminder, this demonstration is being broadcast, so if you are watching online, please post questions to the YouTube chat. And for our students and staff here today, please wait for us to pass around the microphone so we can hear all of your questions. Our goal in these series of demos and lectures is to highlight the culinary excellence of contemporary chefs and culinary entrepreneurs. In the last few months, we have hosted Chef Michael Cimarusti of the Michelin-starred Providence, Chef Meg Bickford of Commander's Palace, Chef Stephanie Izard of The Girl and the Goat, and Chef Nancy Silverton of the Michelin-starred Osteria Mozza. Our guest today, Chef Osiel Gastelum, began his career in San Francisco, where he worked at elite restaurants, Restaurant Gary Danko and 3 Michelin-starred Atelier Crenn. From there, he helped open Bar Crenn, which also was awarded a Michelin star, before moving back to Los Angeles to work at 2 Michelin-starred Somni. In 2020, Chef Osiel started working at Gwen's Butcher Shop, and in February 2022, he was invited to work as the chef de cuisine at the Michelin-starred Maude, alongside Chef Curtis Stone. Chef Osiel's cooking is based in memory and experience. It is both deeply nostalgic and innovative, focused on seasonal and sustainable ingredients. Please join me in welcoming Chef Osiel Gastelum.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you for having me. I'm Osiel Gastelum, as was said. It's been a little while since I've done this, so bear with me if I stay quiet for a little bit. So I'm the chef de cuisine at Maude right now. We don't have an executive chef, so it's double role, executive chef and chef de cuisine. We're a 1 Michelin star restaurant. We were fortunate enough to keep our Michelin star last year, and we're waiting for July for this year. We'll see what happens. Hoping something else happens, but we're a very small restaurant. So the restaurant is only 20 seats. We do 1 seating from Tuesday to Thursday. And then Friday and Saturday, we do 2 seating. So we max out at 38 just because we don't want to really cramp our guests in the dining room. We focus on local, sustainable cooking like any other restaurant, right? It's not saying much. But we try to bring a very unique perspective to what we're doing. We have in our kitchen a very diverse team. I'm from Mexico. I was born in Mexico. I was raised in between Mexico and LA, but I feel very much Mexican. I am now starting to understand that I'm not very much Mexican, but I'm right in between. But I still feel like my roots are there, right? My memories are of cooking from my mother's cooking. That's where it comes from. So every time I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna do this Mexican dish, it ends up being a little bit Japanese, it ends up being a little bit American, it ends up being a little Thai, and then at the end I'm like, I want a little something spicy with it. But it's because of that half being half here and half there, right? Which really gave me the base of Mexican cooking, and then all the richness that LA has to offer with this immense melting pot that LA has, which is amazing. We try to source everything as sustainable as possible. Of course, sometimes we have to put food on the plate, so it's impossible sometimes to do it, but we try to be as responsible as we can. Our fish is mostly line caught. We work very closely with our purveyors to really bring, okay, we want the fish to be treated properly. It needs to be ikejime on the boat, so it's like really treated humanely. We need it to be super clean. By doing line caught fish, you're only taking what you need, right? We're not dragging nets through the ocean and getting all that bycatch that is just going to stop there, right? That fish is not going to keep growing. So we're trying to pinpoint the species that we really want. So we're very conscious about that. Same with sourcing our proteins. Since I started in 2022 at Maude, we've never served a main protein that is not coming from California. Everything comes from California. I will not serve anything that is from outside. It's just something that I believe we are in such a rich state. We have amazing farmers. We have amazing producers that is just paying respect to them. We're a restaurant in California for California. The people that come from outside should understand what we're living here in California. It's time and place. I don't serve beef at the restaurant. It's something that I made a point of. I believe the cattle ranching is just a very big problem, and it's very difficult to find a sustainable source of cattle. There are some out there. It's just for a restaurant to produce such like the same quality, consistent quality of product is very difficult. So I've never served beef at the restaurant, and I don't think I will in the future either while I'm there. We're celebrating 10 years at Maude, even though none of us that have been there for 10 years, but it's very much a restaurant that is now well established in LA. Even though it's tiny, we don't get a lot of press. We don't get a lot of people talking about us because we only serve 20 guests a night. So the spectrum of guests is the pool is very small. So that's a little bit about Maude. Tonight, I'm going to cook for you one of the dishes that is currently in our menu. It's about to leave our menu with I mean, it doesn't look like spring outside right now, but we are in spring, everyone. Because the season has been a little bit longer, it feels like we're still in that end of winter. The produce at the farmers market has been the same way, right? The farmers have felt it. We're still not getting that amazing spring product. The strawberries are not sweet yet. They're still a little bit unripe, even though they're super red. You can't taste that sweetness, floral aromas until we get heat. Then you can start seeing berries that are going to be amazing, and then we'll move into that. So this is a dish that I made for the winter. It is we start with satsuma mandarins, confit in brown butter, and then the other ones are fresh in there as well. A sabayon made from seaweed. We were doing it with velvet horn, this super beautiful seaweed that is super velvety on the outside, and we made a sabayon out of that. Santa Barbara purple sea urchin and Kaluga caviar, and then we topped it with a rice reel with wakame seaweed. Everything coming from California. The caviar is from Sacramento. It's coming from San Nicolai from their farm. White sturgeon caviar. Purple sea urchin is coming from Goleta from the cultured abalone. The seaweed is coming from Monterey Bay from Monterey Bay seaweed. The wakame is a California product. The eggs that we're doing the sabayon from are from Chino Valley Eggs down in near San Diego. So everything that we use is coming from California. I was going to bring you a live sea urchin today, but it's very early in the week, so I couldn't get the live sea urchin. But I really want to teach you how to open a sea urchin. But we'll get started with the recipe. And I know we said questions at the end, but if you have a question during, please feel free to ask it. It'll help me by having something to talk about. So we're going to change a little the dynamics of what we're doing here. But if you have a question, maybe we have a microphone, right? So you can just raise your hand and then ask away. We were doing yuzu gel at the restaurant. I don't know, the cooks say that I'm fascinated with this ingredient, but I love using Ultratex. It is a tapioca maltodextrin derivative. It's when I was in culinary school, I didn't really have Ultratex, and I didn't know it existed, even though it did exist. And one of my teachers, my school was not like this. Yes, it was in Mexico. I was the first generation of that school. We didn't have a freezer. We have one working stove. It was interesting to say the least. But one of my teachers would tell me, you know what would be great if we had, you have a passette, or a strainer? If we had something that we could add to our food that would turn it into a texture of toothpaste. And I'm like, nothing does that. If you think about it, if you use cornstarch, you need to cook it. Tapioca starch, you need to cook it. If you use any starch, you need to cook it. But when I found out about Ultratex, I was super excited, and I remember I told my teacher about it, and this was years after I graduated. I was super excited, and I haven't stopped using it since. So I do use it a lot. It's okay. It's an ingredient that I really like. I enjoy using it. So I tell my cooks, deal with it. It is what it is now. So Ultratex is very special because you don't need to heat it up. You don't need to apply any heat. So for citrus, any juice that you're not trying to alter by adding heat to it, you literally just whisk it in, and it'll turn it into a gel. It has no color. It has no flavor. The only thing that it might add some air into it because of the thickness of it. But then you can just, if you have a vacuum seal available, you just vacuum the liquid a couple of times, and then it'll become its natural color again. There's so much product available to us now that we don't even think about. I thought yuzu was something very difficult to get my hands on until I met Aaron from Girl and Dog, and this was in 2018. Girl and Dog is a farm in San Marcos, near San Diego. 2018, I met him. He had yuzu trees planted. He's like, it's going to be like 5 years until they're ready. 5 years, and they're not ready. So it's a matter of time until we were able to just produce everything here in California that we need. And if you talk to farmers, and if you visit farmers market around the city and talk to the people that are there, they're willing to really push the boundaries. You know, sorry, you can see it then, right? So now it's the texture of a gel, and it has a really smooth, nice mouthfeel. Okay, that's the gel. Now we're gonna do the Supremes. I'm sure you all is it one? Are you in different grades? I don't know. Is that what still? There's still grades. So you like all have different types of. And is it all culinary, or because there are several degrees? No,
Correct.
but it's all culinary here. No.
Culinary management,
Okay.
culinary, and
Okay.
now we offer the associate's degree with those and
Nice.
plant-based program, pastry.
So basic techniques. We at Maude we like to innovate in what we serve and the way we serve it and how we source it. But at the end, you still have the basics of cooking, right? There isn't. Cooking is magic until someone puts it in their mouth. Before that, it's just cooking. So thinking of a vinaigrette, something that I learned to use very early on was butter, and it's different stages. And I remember at Gary Danko, we used to do a brown butter vinaigrette, and I fell in love with it because it was nutty. It delivered something so unique to what we were doing, and then using butter in a vinaigrette is just a little out there, just because it doesn't emulsify, It also, if you don't maintain it at like a certain temperature, it'll just start to harden and coagulate, and then your squeeze bottle is ruined, and then you need to bring it down. But you added citrus already, so it becomes a little game. But I remember the flavor was amazing. So we count everything at Maude. Every single thing that we do, we count it. So we do three little sections of segments that are confit and brown butter, and then three segments that are just fresh. And we keep those cold because I want a difference of temperature on the dish. The sabayon is warm, the uni is cold, the gel is cold. So it's definitely something that I made a point of, like, just having different textures on this. Okay, so we're gonna keep those fresh. Then I have brown butter here. We call it a confit just because it's submerged in brown butter and we keep it warm, but we don't really apply that much heat to it. So we keep it in a space that is just warm to your hand. Sorry to your instructors, but I'm putting fat on top of the stove. It's okay. You'll be fine. So we keep it just warm for those oils in the manner to start releasing, right? To start like really giving out the aroma and flavor. I was fortunate enough to be able to work a pastry line early in my career. And Sabayon was, I don't know, it had its time when I was there. So Sabayon was like very big. It's delicious, and everybody know what a Sabayon is. Who knows what a Sabayon is? What's a Sabayon?
On a double boiler, and some recipe have like masala in there, and then it's just like a sauce with like 8 days that it's really good.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, imagine a hollandaise, but it's sweet. Usually made with sweet wine. The base is sweet wine. You add egg yolks, sugar. You whisk it over a double boiler. You stabilize the egg yolks, and then that's your sauce. People use it to cover berries. People use it. They torch it on top. Sabayon is a very classic preparation. Thinking of that, I'm like, I'm gonna use that and make it a savory one. So why not? I love working with dashis at the restaurant. We shave katsubushi every single morning. We use local seaweed to make the dashis. Every base of sauce has dashi in it of some sort, even if it's just a seaweed dashi, a kombu dashi, or a dashi with katsubushi. I have a shawarmushi that has toasted buckwheat in it that we make a toasted buckwheat dashi. My moles start with a dashi. So if I'm just going to add water to anything, I'm just going to add dashi to it because it's just going to create a more flavorful base. So at the restaurant, we make a seaweed dashi. We start by doing a very traditional clear dashi. Then we blanch seaweed. Right now, we're using wakame. After that, we just blend it together. And magic of television, you get a seaweed dashi. It's super rich in its flavor. It becomes viscous, obviously, because of the seaweed. It looks kind of gross. And different seaweeds will give you different product, right? Velvet horn definitely did not give you this gummy consistency. Different seaweeds have different consistencies. Then we have egg yolks, and I finished with butter. So we'll make the sabayon, and this is gonna take a little bit of. So as a regular sabayon, where you start with your wine and your sugar. Here we're going to start with the seaweed dashi and egg yolks. I was told you can see this. Maybe on another camera.
Perfect.
Ah, there you go. Me pasas tu clarificada. ¿Ya freíste? Porque esta ya no vale. Esta, sí. Oh, this is Chef David. Chef David is my sous chef. He's amazing. He runs the kitchen when I'm there. And when I'm not.
Chef, we have a question here.
Hello. So I had a question. Are those two ingredients the same?
Oh, you need to speak way louder.
Are those two ingredients the same right there?
Which one?
The one in either corner. The one at the top and top left and bottom right.
This and this?
Yeah, no, top left, bottom right.
This and this.
Yeah.
This and this, yes. I just burnt it.
Oh, okay.
So I
okay.
asked him to bring me the one that I didn't burn.
I heard, yeah, no.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Oh, you already burnt it?" I'm like, "Yes, I did." Yeah, so this is gonna take a little bit. We're looking for it to have a nice, super airy consistency.
Yeah, for our students, when you were first starting out your career, what's something you wish somebody told you in the first 2 years of your career?
Don't do it. No, I'm just kidding. A lot of people told me, don't do it. I would say you have to go into it with being realistic. It's going to take a long time for you to be able to feel comfortable in what you're doing and to find what you want to cook. Or at least for me, that was the way. And I was very eager to jump from station to station when I got into a restaurant. I was very eager I want to be a sous chef immediately, but it takes time. And you need to really, really, really learn how to cook before you become a sous chef, before you become a manager. So be patient and understand that everything that you're learning is to help you in the future. I was fortunate enough to be able to go to culinary school, even though it was not a very decent one, but it gave me the time, at least, to do my own research. It gave me the time to really read and educate myself as much as I could. I learned from there how I learned, which I think I tell my cooks that all the time. Learn how you learn. Understand what is your learning process. I think now, before, when I was in a kitchen, the learning process was, I'm going to yell at you until you understand it. I'm going to beat you up until you understand it. But now I think we're starting to understand that it doesn't work for everyone, right? We don't produce the best cooks that way. We produce little robots, and they really don't produce anything else than what you tell them to do. At the end of the day, it's going to be more difficult for us that we're trying to move forward. We're trying to really push a restaurant or push our ideology forward. It's just going to take a lot more time for us to really get to where we want. So understand how you learn, so that way you can learn faster. And when you do, be patient with yourself. Really, really be patient with yourself. Don't try to rush things. Understand them. Yeah, that's what I wish they would have told me. We're almost there. We're almost there.
Any other questions?
So while I'm whisking away, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about myself. Uh, so I was born in Culiacán, Sinaloa. It's a very rough part of Mexico. It's filled with good stories of drug lords and stuff like that. If you don't know it, uh, but it's a rough place for sure. When I was 5, I was fortunate enough to be able to move to the U.S. And then my parents were very rooted in Mexico. So every 2 years we would move back to Mexico, and 2 years we would move back over here. And we did that until I turned 18. I'm the youngest of 4 siblings. My older sibling, yeah, the one next, he's 2 years older than me. He's also a chef. When I turned 18, I moved to finish high school over here because I don't want to do my GED after. Okay, I'm gonna go finish high school in US. So I moved over here with him, and he was studying culinary arts in some less school, guys, some lesser school in Orange County. Uh, but he was very passionate of what he was doing. I remember he would watch Anthony Bourdain or Reservations every single night at 4 a.m. I'm like, I need to go to school at 6 a.m. tomorrow, so please stop. He didn't care. We didn't have AirPods, you couldn't listen. It was like full blast. We lived in a studio. So he was very passionate about it. So that's where I understood that, okay, this is a career. This is something that I could do. After that year, I moved to Mexico to go to culinary school over there because I had the opportunity to do that. So I went over there. After that, he was working in San Francisco at a 2 Michelin-star restaurant called Aquarello. It was an Italian restaurant. He was a sous chef there, and he told me, "Oh, when you get out of school, come over and cook with me." So I'm like, "Great, awesome." In the meantime, a lot of things happen. I own my own bakery to be able to pay for school. I got married, and then I graduated, and then I'm like, what am I going to do? I don't know anything. So again, he called me up. He's like, "You're done. Come over." So I moved to San Francisco the week after I graduated. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go. I moved. He's like, "Stay with me." I stayed for a week, and then he said, "You need to go. And by the way, the position that I offer you is not available anymore." I'm like, "Amazing, awesome, let's go." I'm in San Francisco. I start staging around. I sent maybe 20 different my resume to 20 different restaurants. 3 of them answered back. One was Comi, a 2-star in Oakland, but they never responded to my response. I don't know if it wasn't available anymore. Bar Agricole, which was a really cool restaurant in San Francisco, very, very busy. And then Gary Danko. Gary Danko it's an institution. They've been there for 17 years. Since the Michelin Guide came to California, they've gotten 1 star solid every single year. It is New American, whatever that means, but it's very, very French rooted. They use most of their product is coming from Sonoma and Napa, and it's a very elegant restaurant. It's old school for sure. If you see, it's now the consistency that I want. But when I came in, this beautiful hood lined with copper pots, like I've seen in the movies and in the books. I'm like, this is the place where I want to be. It was definitely a brigade system. There was shouting everywhere. There was pots being treated like they were punch bags, pots being slammed on bus tubs, and people just coming, running, picking them up and putting a clean bus tub in front of them. So it was 300 covers. We had a tasting menu. We have a grand chef's tasting menu. We have a la carte. We have 2 different PDRs, private dining rooms of 10 each. So it was hectic. There was maybe 50 people working in that kitchen, Production started at 4 a.m. We ended at 2 a.m. So there was 2 hours of that kitchen that was completely silent. And after that, it was all over again. 7 days a week, nonstop machine for 17 years. So I fell in love with it, with the hustling, the bustling. It was energetic. I enjoyed it. After spending 2.5 years there, I moved from line cook, pastry cook, fish cook, entremet cook, fish vegetable cook, AM production. And then after I was there, I was a floater, entremet. I would just go to any station, then just stay there. You have the day off. Okay, I would work your shift. Whenever anyone needed, I was there. I made it a point to every single time I moved to a station to leave that station better than how I found it. So every single time, if I was in fish, I was 100% leaving the person that was next shift all the fish portion for his shift. Every single thing done already. So he would come up and just be like, what happened? Did we close yesterday and we didn't use anything? But I just wanted them to know, like, hey, I got you, I got your back, even though I'm just one day. And next time that I work for you, just like maybe leave me the station the same way I left it. But it was something like I was pushing myself and trying to push them to just become better. After that, I wanted to be at a better restaurant. I wanted to be at a restaurant that was doing something more modern. I had my basis already solid. I knew how to drop a veal stock. I knew how to make jus. I knew all this basic French technique. It was solid. After that, I wanted to do something different. So I emailed Dominique Crenn. She was very gracious to answer back, come in tomorrow at 6 a.m. Then I get there, and this gentleman called Felix, one of his sous chefs, opens the door, and he's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, Dominique told me to be here at 6 a.m. He's like, Dominique is not here. I'm like, well, she told me to be here at 6 a.m. I'm like, okay, get dressed. So I got dressed, and it was interesting. It was an intense, tiny, maybe a quarter of this space is Atelier Crenn. Very, very small, doing amazing, amazing stuff. At that night, Dominique comes in and she's like, what do you want to do? I want to work here. Okay, you start tomorrow. I'm like, oh, chef, I kind of need to give my 2 weeks at the other place. If you want to be here, you need to start tomorrow. I'm like, okay. So I started there in the mornings as a commis, and then I would work my PM shift at Danko for 2 weeks. And then I started as a full-time commis in December, which was interesting because my first day fully on, I actually prepped for an event that was at Maude. I had no idea that I would end up working there, but it was, now that I thought about it when I approached Maude, it was like, oh wow, full circle for sure. Okay, now I'm gonna make a rice tuile. We use a lot of little garnishes that represent what we're doing with the dish. So this is a seaweed, a little mat. This is velvet horn. So we use a lot of this, and right now it's so easy to get them. There's so many tools. Amazon, everything you could think of is in Amazon. The quality is okay. It's decent. There's companies now doing specially for kitchen, right? This is like to decor a cake. Again, stepping on that pastry. This is for pastillaje. I forgot the word in English. But for cake decorating, right? It's you press it, you take it out, and then that's your mold. So I decided to use it for this application. So I do a rice tuile, which looks like that. That's a different shape, still a seaweed. So I wanted it to be gluten-free because we're in LA. Gluten-free. So we use rice flour, wakame powder, salt and water. I wanted to use dash instead of water, but then we have vegetarians as well, guys. It's okay. It's something that you should learn. You should think about when you're developing a dish. You, at the end of the day, we're here to please our guests, and what we want to do is really make people happy. And we make it a point at the restaurant, if we have a guest that has an allergy, we're going to build the dish towards that guest, right? At the end of the day, it's 20 people that we're trying to make happy that night by eating our food. At Maude, we don't have a menu, so you don't really come in and know what you're going to eat course by course. You don't really know what we're serving. You have no choice. You're in our hands 100%. You see the menu until the end of the dinner when we give it to you. That's it, right? So we are very grateful to be able to have that opportunity to really wow our guests with what we think is going to wow them. It's also a massive responsibility. So when a guest tells us, I eat a vegetarian menu, we will go 100% for that guest. Chef David will. So real quickly, different doughs work differently. This one, because it's rice, it tends to become very thin. So we're going to cook it just until the rice tuile it's going to get thick, just as if you were adding cornstarch, because it's rice flour. And this is Mochico rice flour, California rice. It's sweet rice flour. So this is going to thicken. And when I was doing the first test of it, usually when you do a batter, you just spread it and either dehydrate it or bake it. But I found out that this one, I would have to dehydrate it for 20 minutes, then take it out of the dehydrator, then spread more dough over it, put it back for 20 minutes, take it out, spread more dough over it. And we do that 4 times. So every single tuile of these has over an hour of work to it, just before even cooking it for the last time. We tend to use a lot of garnishes that makes sense. They're a component to the dish. They're not really there just to make it pretty. If I'm going to work on a pea dish like I'm putting on today, it's not going to be I'm not just going to put a couple flowers on top. It's going to definitely add to the taste of the dish. It's going to be a pea shoot. It's going to be a pea flower. It's going to be maybe a wild onion flower. Just thinking what we have right now of flowers in the restaurant. So it's going to be things that will make sense to the dish, not really just make it beautiful. Okay, well, that's going to go. So that's going to cook into a thick paste. You need to keep going for it. And then that's the product that we get. Then we fry this in browned clarified butter, which Chef David had here for us. And then by the magic of television, Chef David is going to bring me a fried already tuile, a beautiful fried tuile. And then we can there we go. They are then dusted with more wakame powder and salt. And then that is almost done with the dish. We think at Maude of where everything comes from, what would be the best way to present our dishes, because we believe if you come with only just a dish just like that, if it's small, it's not going to be as impactful. And then we want to be able to tell a story. So we serve this dish with seaweed on a plate. Salud. We usually use the seaweed that we're using for the sabayon that day. or lately we've been using lobster seaweed as well. So we'll bring the me das unos erizo, me das unos pedacitos de erizo. Sorry, I speak a lot of Spanish on the kitchen. So, and then we serve it in this little sea urchin cups. So, it's better. We'll do at the base 3 of the confit brown butter. And then 3 of the fresh. Sabayon dresses the atsumas. Bueno, por eso tenemos. And then we're gonna dress the uni with the gel to give it that acidity. And for our vegetarian version for this week, we don't use dashi. We use a vegetable dashi, a kombu dashi, with that we infuse koji rice into it, toasted koji rice, and then we, instead of uni, we use black radishes from Coleman Family Farms. Sorry, McGrath Family Farms, and something that I'm going to owe you today is going to be the caviar. You're going to taste a lot of caviar in your life, guys, if you keep going the way you are. Instead of caviar, we use red sea grapes, which like they pop in your mouth with salt water. It's super delicious and tasty and beautiful. So where's the camera? Where's the camera? You would have the three dots of the white sturgeon caviar on there, and then we finish it on the pass with the little rice tuile. Nobody eat this one? It's not fried. And then we pay attention to everything, right? If the guest is sitting like you two there, then we'll place the tuile facing them. If the table is facing opposite sides, we'll place the tuiles facing them. And we invite our guests to reach for it as if you were reaching for that sea urchin in the ocean yourself. And that's the dish. It's simple, but I think it has texture, it has acidity, and it has richness from the sabayon. And it's super fresh and light. We serve a 9+ course tasting menu. It ends up being, depending on the season and how crazy we get, like 18 different preparations that you're tasting throughout the night, sometimes more. So even dishes that are very, very small will make a huge impact throughout the menu.
How often do you change the menu?
It's a constant evolution. Maude has been in evolution since its inception. It started with a monthly changing menu that would get one ingredient, citrus, and everything had citrus. Asparagus, everything had asparagus, from the desserts to the savory side. Then Maude evolved into serving a quarterly menu based on a wine region that Chef would travel with his team. And now I wanted to keep things a little more consistent and really focus on seasonality. So we evolved with the season for sure. We know that there is 2 weeks of cherries this year. There was 2 weeks of cherries last year. So we have 2 weeks to serve that. So you might come in and we'll have one dish separate than when you came 3 weeks ago. Not that people do that very often, but the menu is constantly evolving. If there's a dish that I'm fed up with, I'll change that. If there's a product that I cannot find anymore at the farmer's market because it's getting out of season, I'll change that. So it keeps on evolving throughout the season. I would say the menu is completely new every 3 months, 3 to 4 months with the season. It's natural. I will not be serving strawberries in the winter. So it progresses with the season, right? Like I said, spring is here, but we feel like it's still the end of winter. So the menu has stayed a little the same for a while now, until now. Like we made changes last week. We have a change coming in today. We have 2 dishes changing tomorrow. So because the season is telling us it's time, then we evolve into it.
How long does it take you to build like a menu? And then also, do you have to build like a menu for like vegan people or like people with allergies differently?
Yes, usually when I'm developing a menu, I will think already as I'm doing it. We don't do vegan at the restaurant, just because with the size of the restaurant I couldn't do it. And we don't do lactose free because I love lactose. I'm sorry, but I need my butter. So those are the only 2 things that we don't accommodate. If someone tells us that they're vegan in advance and they are willing to make arrangements themselves and give us enough time, then we'll try to accommodate. Other than that, we already, when we're developing the dish, we'll start thinking of it. And if not, Chef David, you throw it on Chef David. So usually if we have something from the market, I'm very curious. So I go to the farmer's market every Wednesday. Right now during summer, we also start going on Sundays. I usually go as well on Saturdays. So I'm very curious. They hate it coming with me because I spend maybe 3 hours at the farmer's market just talking to people, and they'll say like, oh, here, try this. So I'll have samples of something at the restaurant. We'll taste them, and if they go well with the dish, Chef David will be like, oh, well, you brought this on Wednesday. We can use that for the vegetarian. So usually when we're in a snippet, Chef David jumps in and then start thinking about it.
You go to the Santa Monica Wednesday?
Santa Monica and Hollywood on Sundays. Yeah. I mean, there's farmers market around the LA every day of the week. There's one in Hollywood on Mondays. On Saturday, there's one in Santa Monica, and then there's another one like 5 minutes away. It's kind of crazy, but it is. There's one in Pico Rivera. There's one Altadena. There's so many farmers market. Amazing product. Most of the things that they sell are organic. Make sure you ask. A lot of farms are not certified organic because it takes a lot of money to be certified organic. But if you get to talk to the farmers, you can see that they practice organic. Everything they do is organic. They just don't have the certification to back it.
Any other questions?
Did I answer all your questions? I feel like I didn't answer all of them.
Do you guys hire culinary student interns with less than a year of experience?
So we are starting to work into our program that because it does require, what we're doing is I always say the same thing. It's nothing difficult, right? We're not changing the world. If you went to culinary school, you know how to make a sabayon, or you should. Guys, you should know how to make a sabayon. If you went to culinary school, okay? So if I start talking to you about basic things, you should be able to understand them. But then it also takes a lot for you to be able to understand how a restaurant works. If you don't have the experience, it's hard for us to, because our staff is limited, because our space is limited, if someone is not up to our standards, it's difficult. But now that we've been open for these 2 years, we have a solid team. I have a solid management team. We are starting to broaden the idea of bringing people in. We've had several J1s from France, from another school, a lesser school again, Ferrandi, coming and do a 6-month stage with us, and that's worked out great. We've tried to manage that as our like inception program to bring people from LA.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me know.
Chef, we have a lot of business students in here. How involved are you on the business side of Maude?
So I do all invoicing for the kitchen. Because we're a tasting menu, it's very different than running a regular restaurant, right? Because our costs are, we know that today we're gonna have 20 guests. We know that tomorrow we're gonna have 20 guests. We're a reservation only restaurant. So the actual costs they don't fluctuate that much, right? When I'm building a dish, I'm thinking, okay, I have for my main course, I have $7 to spend per guest. For my first course, I have maybe 50 cents to spend. So when I'm building a dish, I know where it's going to go on the menu, and because I costed everything at the beginning, extreme detail to costing at the beginning, I know exactly how much one dish should cost. Behind it, we have a full team that inputs all the invoices into our I don't know what you call it, processing system. And then they'll be on top of like, hey, the milk is fluctuating a lot. You're now spending $3 more on it. So now okay, I need to talk to a vendor, right? Why is the milk costing more? We have 3 different outlets that we buy from the same company. So we usually try to, okay, hey, we're 3 different restaurants. We're from the same group. You should definitely try to give us a better deal, right? So it runs differently. I don't do my costing every single month because I know already how much we should be spending and how much I can spend on each dish. But I would say at the beginning, definitely like pinpoint every single thing that is going on, right? At the end of the day, we're running a business. And if you're in a restaurant that is failing every month, you get out of there because you're learning how to do it the wrong way, 100%. So make sure you're in a successful restaurant.
Fantastic. Anybody have a question?
I'll be honest. No, so it's changed a lot, and I think it's changed with us, 100%. At the beginning, fine dining meant being afraid, super aggressive kitchens. I got oil thrown at me, pots thrown at me. I got yelled out every single night. But I think we are realizing now that doesn't work. Like I said, it creates robots. It creates you doing things out of fear. It doesn't really teach you how to cook. It teaches you how to replicate, which I don't want. I don't want to be on top of my cooks. I want them to become chefs, and I want them to understand what it is that we're doing, why we're doing things. So at Maude, we're trying to change things a little bit. There's still discipline. There's still a very, very structured restaurant. We still hold ourselves to the highest standards that we humanely can, but we still understand that you get sick. We still understand that you learn differently than how I learn. We still understand that some days you're not there 100%. And in that case, you know what? We have people to take your place. Just take the day. If you're not here 100%, take the day. Again, Chef David will jump on it. But we're there for that, right? We're there to develop each other, to grow with each other, and that's what we're trying to do. Uh, it's still not easy. It's not an easy job. It requires to be mentally strong, physically strong. It requires for you to be completely focused in what you're doing. And I ask a lot from my cooks, a lot. I tell them I ask everything. Once you walk through those doors, you start walking faster. You start standing taller. You start talking better. You do your hair. You shave every single thing. Everything matters, right? We are very disciplined. We are very organized. We are an open kitchen, so we understand that it needs to be clean. It needs to be completely spotless for our guests. Yeah, but I think that's where we're going. Definitely, we're humanizing what we're doing. We're not just trying to achieve our goals by any means necessary. We're achieving our goals with what we need and making people understand that, hey, if you want to be part of this, you can. If you don't want to be part of this, there are so many restaurants, great restaurants, that are not trying to do what we're doing. If you want to be part of it, we're open to teach you, and it's going to be hard the first 3 months. After that period, it's going to make sense. It's gonna click. And if it doesn't click, we'll teach you. We'll get you to where you need to be. We don't really have a high firing rate or a high turnover on the kitchen, so it's been pretty great.
That's amazing. You've worked with some wonderful chefs. Curtis Stone, obviously, Dominique Crenn. How has your experience been with, and how involved are they in the restaurant?
Sorry, with the what?
How involved are they in the restaurant, day-to-day operation?
So Curtis is there once in a while. He's not very involved. Our first initial conversation when I talked to him, I told him this is the first kitchen that I run by myself, right? My menu. This is the first kitchen that I am putting all my food is what it's being served at Maude. Other places, I would run the kitchen. I would manage the kitchen, manage inventories, manage the staff, the cooks, arrange family meals, trips, whatever, right? But I wasn't 100% my food. I did research and development for Dominique. She was very involved in that. It was a 3 a.m., 4 a.m. text. I always tell the story. She would text me a picture of a photo of a watch that she was looking at Instagram and say, I want this. That's it. Do whatever you want with it, right? So in that, she was very involved. Chef Curtis told me, play with my restaurant. I'm very grateful to him because he gave me the tools, the opportunity to really find what I want to do, to really have a voice. So every couple of months, he'll come in and dine and have the whole menu, and then he'll give feedback from that. From there, he's involved in the accounting of it. He's involved in the direction of the restaurant. And I mean, it's still his name at the door, right? So we definitely take into account what he has been, what his trajectory is as well, right? If I know he loves pasta, so every time I put a pasta on the menu, I'm thinking of what he would serve that pasta. Until last year when I put a pasta for me, but that was also the story of it, right? I've made pastas for Chef Curtis. Now I'm making a pasta for me. So there's still an essence of him. Maude is his paternal grandmother's name, so we're still true to that. Every single plate is vintage. I go and buy it myself throughout different parts in the city to find these plateware, which is something that is very important for him. So he's definitely involved from afar, but he keeps an eye on me for sure.
Of course he does, right? Is your brother still in the restaurant industry?
He is, yeah. He's actually moving he was in Paris for 7 years, and then he's moving to California in the next few months. He's traveling through South America right now.
Fantastic. Any other questions? Yep.
what would you say is your like ultimate goal? Like how do you see yourself in the following 6 to 8 years?
I mean, my goals have changed. Right now, I would say to be happy, or to be happier. I have a beautiful 2-year-old daughter and a beautiful wife. They're very supportive of what I do, and my wife is. My daughter, I still don't know, but hopefully. But I want to own a restaurant that will keep on telling my story, right? And to really build a platform to tell the story of the people that are in it. Because I do the food. I tell my guests all the time, I do the food. Chef David has been helping me with a couple dishes. But at the end, I do this 3-4 times. I have Chef David taste it. I give him a recipe. I give him a list. And then he implements it in the kitchen. And then the cooks execute it every night. So I do a very small part of it. They do it every single day. So at the end of the day, it's important that they also have a platform to talk to guests, right? And at Maude, there is no limits into I am a back server, I am a captain, I am a line cook. At the end of the day, we're all cooks. My cooks know how to clear a table, they know how to pour water, they know how to greet a guest, they know how to sit guests, they know how to talk to the guest. They know everything. We have a program where we build it into their station that they need to work every 2 weeks. They work front of house. Why? Because we want to give them that opportunity to really become a restaurateur more than just a line cook. You can learn how to toss a salad. Every restaurant will teach you how to toss a salad. We're going to teach you beyond that. I want you to know what a sommelier does. I want you to understand what a backwaiter does, because when you get to the point where you need to manage your own restaurant, that's where it's going to kick in, and it's going to be important. So I want to build that structure to be able to create the next generation, right? Leave that legacy, and then tell the story of everyone that's in it. If you find a couple $1 million, let me know.
Well, thank you so much, Chef. We
It was a
really
pleasure.
appreciate having you here and your expertise. And we're going to get a little sample for everyone. But please thank Chef.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.